In order to replace the clock, we're gonna turn off the power and then we'll do the rest. The oven is ready. We're gonna remove these doors before we pull the oven out. In order to remove these doors, we're gonna have to open these all the way, on this side all the way, and then lift up the door. At this moment we have some resistance here, and then when you have resistance, you lift it up and pull out the oven door. Put it on the sheet or somewhere. And we can do the same thing with this oven. You open these clips on the hinge, and then lift up the door. And then from here you feel resistance here. You can lift up the door and pull it out. Have your sheet ready for the floor protection. Slide it a little bit underneath by lifting up the oven, so that way it's going to be completely safe. You do not want to scratch the floors. And then from there, if you want to remove all of these grills and burners, good. If not, you can always put one of your hand right here. You got an opening here. You do not want to grab it from here. You do not have a good grip. Grab it from this area, see? And then the same thing, you do not want to grab it from this. You're gonna cause damage. So you can, on this side, you may want to put your hand underneath or kind of hold it from this area all the way, like that. Not like this, it's like that. And then pull the unit out. After removing the oven from the wall closer to the outside, we're going to remove this, all of these, all of the grades, one by one. I usually remove all of these before I even pull the oven out, so that way the oven is going to be more lighter to pull it out. We're going to have to remove these burners. In order to remove these burners, I'll show you a trick here. You can remove this easily. This one is also easy to remove. When you remove this burner, see the way it goes? When you install it back in, remember this pattern. This one goes right here. So if you add it any way you want, you're gonna have a hard time. So make your job easier. Reposition this closer to this area and just like that. And the same thing on these ones. These burners, you see that hole goes into the sparker. You kind of line it up. And the same thing on this one, I'll show you. See the hole goes on top of the sparker. Line it up. Here. We're gonna remove all of these screws, the burner screws. You may wanna also take these off, but do not take these off, because if you remove these, there's insulation pad. It's gonna fall down at the back of this. If you wanna get access to the cooling fan or some of the switches to the front, you can only remove these two and all of these three, this one, and then you can pick this up and you will have full access at the bottom. There's also safety thermostat and cooling fan. You will have full access on it. Once you remove all the screws, you're gonna drop this down. There's also two screws, one here, one on other side you have to remove. When you remove all the screws from these burners and from these areas, lift up the back. Of course, you're going to remove two screws from the back, one from this side, one from that side. And then you lift up the back, and then this side, you have to pull it out this way. There's a piece of metal that it's overlapping here, overlapping, and then that one overlapping. You lift the back, bring it towards the forward, and then lift it up, and then after that you can put the top to the side and then work on the burners, on the gas valves, and on your clock.
شده بیجایی زدی سکرو
Neyse iyi sürmeyeceğiz.
سکرو
Ya olmayacağız mı? Olmamış. Leute, parte flash Leute. Drilla bigi. Hold shows. The screw is right there, and in order to install it, you really have to go like use your drill bit like this, and at the same time, if you remove the top completely, it's gonna make your job easier. Otherwise, you really have to use a flashlight and lean down and use that screw. It seems okay now. In order to remove this clock, we have really tiny screws. We're gonna remove each of these. There's 3 of them, and I'll show you where they go. One goes on the top, one goes at the bottom right left side, another one on the right hand side. You can only stick your screwdriver and pull it out. When you pull the ring out, the clock out, after that you get the new one. The new one is updated version. It's a little bit different, but you're gonna have to remove this ring from the old one. You see this stainless steel looking ring? You have to remove it from the old one and install it on the new one, and then after that you can install your clock. So Anil is gonna do this. Ora ma kan vi kad desta te screwdriver. Saça pamiri. Ora pachakko ho peshri clocka.
Right.
Screw ma kan vi kad when you reinstall the new clock, it's going to be a little bit tighter, so you may want to play around with it until you get it pushed in hard, and then it's going to snap in place. Otherwise, if you just hold it and push it back in, it's not going to work. So you have to spend some time to play around with it back and forth, wiggle it back and forth, and then you're eventually it's going to go slap in. Okay, now you can add your screws from the back. One goes on the top, one on the left. Yeah, you're working on the left one. Once the clock is installed successfully, you want to plug it in. So plug, and this is the screw the way it looks. خالات گرفتی. Remember these corners, you want to run your hand back and forth. You want to make sure it's flush. The top of the oven is flush to the cabinet. The same way the top of the oven is flush to the cabinet, because when you pull the unit out and you reinstall it back in, trust me, you're gonna see some difference because the legs are turning and there's vibration and movement. I've seen it once in a while. When you reinstall the oven back in, the cabinet doesn't get lined up with the oven, and then you have to adjust the feet on it. So remember this, it's very important for the decoration and look of the kitchen and oven. It's important to line up the cabinet to the both sides, left and right hand side of the oven.